The Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council, NGOCC, has formally noted the 253.1 billion kwacha proposed national budget speech presented to Parliament on Friday, September 26, 2025, by Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Stumbeko Msokotwani, MP. The budget theme focused on consolidating economic and social gains towards a prosperous, resilient, and equitable Zambia, with a promise to build on the groundwork of the past 4 financial plans. We acknowledge the positive signals, the consistent hiring of teachers and health workers, expanded social protection, and efforts to address infrastructural gaps in health, education, and sanitation. The 16.6% increase in the budget is a welcome sign of continued national investment and ambition. The commitment to consolidating social and economic gains is exactly what Zambia needs. For NGOCC, the gender lens is critical. Hence, as we review this plan, NGOCC is focused on one question: how does the 253.1 billion kwacha budget empower the women, youth, and other marginalized communities of Zambia? The true consolidation of gains cannot happen if social equity is not explicitly resourced. We are looking for bold, measurable budget lines that accelerate progress toward gender equality, not just maintenance of the status quo. The increase in the national cake must be reflected in the size of the slices for those traditionally left with crumbs. Therefore, the theme of equity remains an illusion without targeted action. While the minister speaks of an equitable Zambia, the budget fails to allocate specific, deliberate resources for our most vulnerable citizens, women, girls, and persons with disabilities. This budget delivers a painful silence on key issues, including zero funding to combat menstrual poverty, and makes no mention of resources to address the infrastructure gap for girls, especially the construction of boarding houses in rural Zambia to keep girls in school. The budget speech failed to demonstrate the government's commitment towards allocating resources for data-driven research and strengthening monitoring and evaluation. Without dedicating funding for research and monitoring and evaluation, the government is essentially flying blind on policy implementation. The lack of disaggregated data on the many statistics churned out in the speech validates our concern about the government's commitment to data-driven interventions. The proposed 2026 national budget shows little to no traction in allocating funds to fight non-pandemics or curb gender-based violence, GBV, despite it being one of the country's most prevalent human rights violations against women. Added to the non-commitment towards GBV, the minister failed to allocate funds towards the operationalization of the Gender Equity and Equality Commission. Further, we express profound reservations about the increase in the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, especially given the reductions in other equally important sectors. The persistent bottlenecks, misuse, and low absorption rates of the CDF should have seen the minister redirect this money toward more critical areas like health, social protection, education, and agriculture. Furthermore, despite the decision to allocate more funds towards dismantling domestic debt, we were expecting that the pay-as-you-earn tax-free threshold would be increased to improve household liquidity and stimulate the local economy. Additionally, while we are hopeful about interventions to address the energy crisis, we urge that the Electricity Fund explicitly benefit the most vulnerable in our society, who are disproportionately affected by energy poverty. Therefore, NGOCC views the 2026 budget as a plan that talks about equity and consolidating the gains over the last 4 years, but funds the status quo falling short of a gender-responsive budget. We cannot achieve a truly prosperous and resilient Zambia if we refuse to specifically resource the empowerment and protection of women and girls. I thank you.